Hello. Welcome to Venus is finally going direct celebration party. Meh, 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 meh. So today we're going to talk about what it's been like as Venus has been retrograde and hopefully what we've been working on and progress points. And then we will talk about Venus going direct and pull some cards. And so we'll just dive right in because I don't want to edit anything that goes like whoosh or whatever. So you can imagine that here now. So, gosh, when did it all start? Was it December 19th? Venus went retrograde? That might be wrong. I can't remember, but that sounds familiar. And Venus will be going direct on January 29th. So think back, over the last 4 or 5 weeks and, maybe even 6 weeks with the shadow. What themes have been coming up for you around the way that you see love and money and house and home and happily ever after themes, right? The way that you live, the way that your home is, the way that you earn money, the way that you furnish your surroundings, the way that you express yourself, creativity, culture, living in sensual enjoyment of food, smells, beauty, art. What do you surround yourself with? What do you value? What are your love relationships like? What are your relationships like? What is are you able to be, have a lust for life? And so currently the life that you've built, does it support you feeling, in your most healthy, nourished, living out loud self with your Venus self, Does the life you live now, lend itself to having that enriched kind of life? Esther Perel refers to that as erotic vitality, where you feel alive and you want to taste and you want to go out and have adventure and get in there and just like love every minute of it. And it's like love the cozy times, love the adventurous times, but just really soak it up, And it's hard to feel that way if you're depleted, stressed, feeling like you're not living a life that's true to yourself, if you are depleted or in scarcity or feeling a lot of lack or insecurity. And I just realized that my little space heater is on, but I guess it's just gonna be white noise. I'm just gonna leave it. But yeah, do you feel like you're in survival mode and self-preservation? Because it's hard to feel like alive and happy if you're always in survival mode. So one thing that we have been doing, hopefully, over the past few weeks is thinking about what it takes for us to feel secure enough to imagine an enriched life and a life that is just vibrant and with depth and with, experiences that just turn us on and light us up. And so, what would that look like on a day-to-day basis? What does that mean about your job? Because so many of us, like we think about different jobs or careers that we might want, and a lot of times we glaze over just the practical day-to-day of what it's actually like. Like we look at the synopsis and the bullet points and the back of the movie description of the job, but we don't really think about how we're gonna feel doing that all day, every day. What is it we're going to require? What does it give us in return? So I think that we've been going back and reevaluating, what we really want, what we really value, getting a lot of clarity around that so that we can build, our foundation a foundation that can lend itself to what we really want to build on it. And then same as far as love, what really gives you a sense of a balance between security and desire. And a lot of people pointed out during the last few weeks that it's only been in the last couple of 100 years that we even thought of marriage and desire even possibly happening in the same place. And I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, that's true, because it was already arranged and according to like what was advantageous for the families, and you know, people loved who they did in their villages and towns, and they were forbidden because they were like already promised to like Jerry, the cousin, you know, because that was what was good for the family. And so I don't, you know, it has been since at least that level of liberation of humankind that we've been able to, at least in, you know, most first world countries, or, you know, actually even still there's a lot of like religious traditions that arrange marriages, and they, you know, there's mixed reviews around how that goes. And so yeah, so I guess it does still happen, but it has only been in the last couple of 100 years that we could, you know, have more freedom about choosing who we marry, and then combining that whole romantic love, sexual desire, and bringing it into the institution of marriage. And so those Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity, I just started it now, talks about how you reconcile wanting security and comfort from the same person that you want excitement and novelty with. So it's something that we're now, right now, in this moment in time, figuring out how to set the stage for that, the circumstances for life to thrive on planet Earth, and have love and desire in a long-lasting way. So we've been reconsidering what we need from a partner, what kind of partner we want, and what attracts us. And I've also, on top of those themes, been doing a lot of unpacking of my subconscious and trying to get really clear and offload anything that is like this like negative patterning that I'm just not aware of, that I can like nip in the bud now. So like going forward, you know, in, you know, direct with all the planets, I can just be like a blank slate. And I've really been feeling like it's so bizarre to have to not have you know, any particular object of desire on my radar, or, you know, just not have any crushes going on, being completely liberated in that aspect of just being this like fresh blank slate with no distractions in that area. It's so odd. So I'm like, ooh, now that I've done all this subconscious reprogramming, like who am I going to be attracted to now? It's so interesting. It's so crazy to be like, oh, I'm this is a real fresh start for me. And same thing with work. I'm starting over in work, and I'm doing like a kind of an in-between bridge job right now. So I'm building a new career, and I've got a new cash situation, you know, on the side, and it's like going into that with a whole fresh perspective and a fresh blank slate to try to not get salty and tired and just stay happy and abundant all the time. So it's really interesting. So going forward, we can really take our time and don't rush, and just, you know, turn inward and evaluate, you know, is this according to what I've discovered recently about what I value and what I need, and what are my non-negotiables and what are my deal breakers now. Moving forward, I can take my time, and we can all take our time and kind of qualify our options that are in front of us with what we've set out, what we've declared that we value for ourselves. And it'll help us, like, you know, it'll just reinforce our boundaries, and it'll just remind us of what we want to build and why, and what we hope comes of that. So as Venus goes direct, we're going to get even more clear about that. And I think that we're going to, like, I think that for a minute we're going to feel kind of void, like I was just talking about, like this, like in a void lunar uncertainty zone. So I mean, my friend Tracy call it when the moon is in a void state. We're like, I'm uncertain, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just free floating, and there's no, like, I feel like really neither here nor there. And so while we're in this sort of like void Venus state, just observe yourself in this blankness and kind of relish in it, because it's hardly ever like this where you feel like you can really step outside and observe yourself, and observe yourself being new in a new way, from a new mindset. And it gets really meta and really fun and really trippy. yeah, so more clarity going forward, a more vivid sense of how we feel, being able to decipher those feelings better, and I think we're going to be a lot more willing to call the red flags when we see them, because it's like we're not lying to ourselves anymore. It's just we've seen that that's just a big giant waste of time. So I think that we're going to take red flags a lot more seriously, hopefully moving forward, and yeah, finally get a haircut and like look better again. I don't know about you guys, but I had like a physical awkwardness during the Venus retrograde. Like, I mean, I've got like lighting and hair and makeup going today, and it's nice, but like for the past several weeks I've just been like, I feel like so pale, and I've had all these like, all that density and negativity been coming out, and like zits everywhere, and just like outbreak, and like my hair has been all weird and like bad. I've just been really awkward during this Venus retrograde, and now that I'm moving direct, I feel cute today. And I wore I have one more episode, I think, of the first half of this current season of Ozark. I think I'm on the last episode of this half tonight, so don't tell me. I'm so excited, but I'm wearing my poppy kimono in celebration of horrible, violent heroine television show. But yeah, so let's get started. I have chosen a few decks that I thought were really appropriate for the Venus theme, and I'm really excited. So I've got the Romance Angels by she who I guess we shouldn't name because she doesn't want to be involved in this anymore. Y'all know who I'm talking about! Tarot of the Psychic Heart by John Holland. This is a great one for general relationships in life, and the tarot that addresses, I think it's technically an oracle because there aren't any court cards, but it's the major arcana, minor arcana cards. But it just addresses our emotional world and our as viewed in the hermeneutic lens of relationships. So this one's specifically good, and it doesn't have to necessarily be romantic relationships. I've got Mary, Queen of Angels, again by our unmentionable one, which I think is really, really awesome. It's like motherly advice from Mother Mary. And then this one is about, it's really good for career and money and dreams, but this is also from our sweet lady who doesn't do oracle and tarot anymore, but Magical Mermaids and Dolphins. This is really good for if you want to get a reading about specifically goals and work stuff and dreams and manifestation. So, and I love her decks because they're all just really simple and straightforward and earnest, not overly complicated, which is good sometimes. Sometimes I like the really deep ones, but sometimes it's nice just to go back and read hers because you can't avoid what the message is of the card. I think I'm like all crooked. I'm gonna adjust my frame. I get to be perfectionistic about this because I'm a filmmaker. Okay. All right, let's start with the Romance Angels. I am setting the intention to ask us, to tell us, communicate to us, Holy Spirit, for our highest good and the highest good of all people who are involved in the comings and goings of our relationships. What do we need to be aware of to really crystallize our values into material form as we move forward when Venus goes direct, when we are building our relationships? How should we show up in our relationships? What do we need to work on most? Oh. Okay, this is an interesting grouping of cards. We have deception. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship. Separation. time apart from your partner is on the horizon. Retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world. And it sounds bleak, but I think what it's saying is that now we have to be honest with ourselves. If we want a life that is authentic to us, we can't lie to ourselves and we can't really lie to other people. So we have to be honest and true, while still respecting other people's boundaries and being in our feminine and letting them be in their masculine, or if it's the other way around, being your masculine and honor her feminine. But yeah, we do need to be authentic and earnest in the way we show up. And so that starts first with ourselves. I think that the dangerous thing about sometimes, just day-to-day life is that we are in denial all the time unless we are rigorously like committed to ourselves and devoted to seeing the truth about ourselves and about life and about, each other. And it's like we can only really know the truth about ourselves because really everything that we see in other people is just based on, it comes through the filter of our ego, of our inner child, of our shadow, of the way that we're perceiving or interpreting them. We could misunderstand them. We don't really know other people's motivations or why they do what they do unless they're totally honest with us. So someone has to be the first one to be truthful and vulnerable. So I think this is saying that do not put your head in the sand anymore. Be honest with yourself about what you need and what you want, and how your life is playing out and how your relationships are playing out, and what people are capable of offering you. If you're trying to get in a relationship with someone, then you should probably stop trying to get a relationship with one. Just be relaxed and go about your business and be open and flirtatious with life, and the person who really sees you, who adores you, will make it known, and you won't have to try with them. I will say that it is preferred for, I'm just going to skip that. That is just traditional relationship advice. And it's for traditional straight couples, so it doesn't really include everyone. Well, what I was going to say is that the person who is showing up with the more masculine energy consistently, I would say, is the person that maybe should reach out initially. People, it needs to be balanced, but maybe like that's the pursuer, and the person who's in the more feminine energy of the relationship is more comfortable in sitting back and receiving. And that is just the electricity that makes the attraction work. That's not like this is bad and this is good. It's just that's how the chemistry is ignited. So there's gonna be a person who is the pursuer and the pursuee, and I think that it's important not to become the wrong person in that match, because then there's not going to be attraction, or at least it won't last because it's not the right wiring, right? So don't lie to yourself. If you're putting yourself in the wrong position and you need to switch that around, don't lie to yourself if someone's just not that interested and they're not showing you any devotion. They're just sort of giving you whatever, and it's a convenient thing. Like, be honest about the situations you're in. Be honest with others. And you don't have to do the whole like confess your undying love to them thing or anything. You can just show up genuinely, and not try to play games or try to like get them to react in a certain way because you did this and you wanted that, hopefully that was going to get this behavior. So I think it's really important to overall just be genuine and authentic and natural, right? Just be natural. Don't try to play gay. Like, what if we tried to go forward and we did things that were the attraction flirting games, but not the manipulative, like, emotional controlling games? There's a nuance, there's a difference, but I think deep down you know when it's happening, because one makes you feel enticed and the other makes you feel insignificant. And let's just be honest, I mean, I'm not trying to feel insignificant by my partner. Like, what's sexy to me is somebody who's really interested and thinks that I'm the shit. So, like, I don't know. So I think unhealthy game playing, it's canceled canceled, 86 it's out. Separation from a partner and time alone. And I think that what this is be content to be with yourself. Even if you're in a relationship, start taking more time for you. Go on a long walk alone, or, take time to do things independently from one another. But if you're single, then I think it's good to just be comfortable in that aloneness for a minute, because we are recalibrating. So it's going to take a second for us to know, for all systems to be rewired, put back in place, for all systems go. I think we need a minute to let everything settle in and figure out what it is that we're starting to like these days. So don't rush into anything. Be content with being single and alone for a minute and just observing and, getting to know yourself again. I think it's good because it helps you. We're all codependent on a spectrum, and so the more that we heal that in ourselves, the better. And I think that there has been a lot of healing going on with that during Mercury or Venus being in retrograde, and hopefully there was a lot of parent healing this month for you guys. I know there was for me, with both parents. Like, not just in my physical interactions were roughly the same, but I felt differently. I wasn't as triggered, but like in the spiritual world, I feel like I did a lot of healing and a lot of forgiving and learning, which is, me and my friend laugh at that because it's like the only card that ever comes out of this deck is like forgiving and learning. We're like, oh yeah, fuck you, forgiving and learning, always forgiving and learning. But yes, we're always forgiving and learning. So frustrating. And then retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world. And I think that while you are just being happy to be alone for a minute, and that's not to say that you have to like put any time limit on this. I think it's just like get really comfortable in that time that you are alone. And then I think that the more comfortable you are in that space, the more opportunity you have to tell the universe clearly who it is that you're becoming and who would be a good match for you, because that could kind of be changing and like in flux all the time. So and if you're constantly changing, then like who could match you unless they're sort of like really mutable and flowing with you. And so these are kind of big major interchanges. So right now it would behoove you to let it all like work itself out without the extra chaos of somebody else who may not even be doing, all of the conscious work that you are. So those people are even more like drama because they're not as aware of themselves or their motivations or as in control of their reactions. So it's like you have to be patient enough, and like that's usually the mistake, is that I'm trying to point out to people and I can't, because it's like you can't offer unsolicited. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And so it's like, so you really got to pick what hills you're going to die on, So yeah, so don't lie to yourself, don't lie to others, don't be deceptive, or wear a mask. Just be authentically you, so that someone who authentically matches you has a chance at showing up, because they can see who you are and they can find you. Be comfortable in your own skin and be comfortable alone, and use this time to really get to know yourself deeper, pursue your interests, just fall in love with life, learn how to cook good food. I've been learning how to cook more, and it's really, really fun, and it's very nourishing every day. I mean, I enjoy the fact that like I can eat something really nice that I cooked for myself, and it's really healthy. And I don't really I make all the traditional foods. I think that they're just more healthy because I'm cooking from scratch. So I'm using whole ingredients and not using pre-made ingredients. And I think that makes a difference. You don't really have to deprive yourself if you're eating whole ingredients. That's what French people do. That's what I always say. Anything I want to justify, I'm like, yeah, French people do it. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's chic. All right, so from our tarot deck, what do we have? What kind of advice? Moving forward. When you pull 10 decks out, you get the same card from each deck, and it's just the same thing over and over again. That's hilarious. But it's like an underscore, capital letters, get this message. So okay, so we had deception right underneath it, is throat chakra, speaking our truth. So make sure that we're doing work with our throat chakra going forward. Maybe buy some blue stones like sodalite and chrysocolla. Oh my gosh, I love chrysocolla. It's so beautiful, but it's really great for being in that feminine power where you can receive an intuition and express it through your voice. Blue opal. What else? Lapis lazuli, like all of those deep, rich cobalt blue stones are great for working with your throat chakra. And your throat chakra is all about being able to communicate, knowing your truth first of all. And I think we could do a whole video on like what is truth. When people are like, what is your truth? Like, what does that really mean? I think that people use it in a lot of different ways, and the way that I will explain it will be correct. But yeah, I think it's just about knowing your true values and being, walking your talk and talking your walk, and not like talking out of your ass, and not being full of shit, and telling the literal truth, not being a liar. But yeah, just being honest with yourself, honest with life. Express yourself. Don't hold back. Don't censor yourself because you're afraid of the backlash of being abandoned, of being, a social pariah, being exiled. Don't be afraid. Speak up. Speak your truth, because you have to be able to speak from the heart. Speaking from the heart is what makes a difference out in the world. And there's a message that you have, that you are born with, that you have to share with people, and you have to be able to speak that. And it could tie in, and I feel like it does for me, with your work, with what you do and what you do to the legacy that you leave behind. And you don't necessarily have to earn your money with that purpose. You can earn your money separately so that you have complete freedom in that purpose, and you don't have any pressure on it until it does make you money, and then great, like you can focus all your attention there, but you don't have to put pressure on it to make that happen. Our other card is Heal, which is traditionally the star card, 17. It's right under the separation. And I think it's just like, as you're in this time with yourself, focus on your healing. Focus on any work that you can do internally to have more awareness and self-discovery around what your subconscious motivations are and what's driving you. I don't have any workshops that I've created yet, although I need to start doing those, but I would highly recommend it. I'm not an affiliate, to Be Magnetic. I talk about them like every day all the time because they're so effective. But I've also been doing Chris Corsini's new moon and full moon workshops on YouTube, and he's like, pay what you can. You can give him a donation through PayPal. But his are really awesome too. It's very good for energy clearing. So I've been doing those consistently recently, and they've both been really, really effective. So you can go get online now and either do Chris Corsini's as a pay what you can or what you want. And then if you want, you can join up with To Be Magnetic, or go to their podcast and just intuitively find an episode that matches your situation. And they usually give a lot of good advice and like things that you can walk away with and take action on. Do some journal exercises on it. Yeah, so healing time. And the more that you can uncover those subconscious motivations, the more you can break your patterns and your automatic reaction. It's like the operating system that was in there currently was faulty or out of date, and it wasn't functioning on your new life, in your new light body. So you need to, I just inhaled my hair down my throat and almost choked. So yeah, you need to offload that buggy software, those old subconscious programs, and replace them with the kind of beliefs and feelings and thoughts that you would have to have in place to go forward now and be in the enjoyment and living the life that you want to live. And one thing that To Be Magnetic will have you do is, while you're in the impression, I can't remember whether, I think it's beta state or theta state, I can't remember, but it's not parasympathetic state, I think it's sympathetic state. They'll take you through these prompts, but basically you can relive moments that you have discovered, put in like a subconscious imprintation that you've been playing out because of that like galvanizing moment, and you can relive it so that it happened in a more idealistic way, that you would have done if you could choose a better way to have played out from a compassionate, more evolved, like, okay, this would have been a healthier way to see that. And your brain doesn't know the difference. And so at that point, it's just, that's what helps you rewrite these neural pathways. So I won't go too deep into that, but I do highly recommend like joining their thing if you have some, like a bunch of stuff that you want to work through and get out in very focused, like specific way. You want immediate results. That would be your ticket. I would say go that direction. Chris Corsini too. And then our last tarot card is Just Breathe, which is the Four of Swords, which is taking a time out, meditating, and healing, right under the retreat card. So this period, there's going to be a period of time where, you know, I think we want to go out there all guns blazing, but it's best to just be with ourselves for a minute, continue on in this practice of self-discovery and healing and really renewing yourself, because then when you meet somebody, or as you go forward in new friendships or rebuilding your current relationships with family and friends, you can show up as like such a different, a higher version of yourself than you ever have, a more well-adjusted, a more, you know, a healed version, a more integrated version of yourself, where you just kind of, you're literally a different person because you're perceiving things on a completely different level. So what would trigger you before, you're not even interpreting it the same way. So you're a new person. So you're going to have a whole new chance at a different relationship, a different experience moving forward. So take your time, because the sacrifice and the restriction that you're practicing on the forefront is going to come back tenfold on the back end. Just you wait. So let's get some motherly advice from Mother Mary. Ooh, truth! Oh my gosh. Every day. I'm going to get all 75 of my decks out. It's just going to be, keep that truth, truth, truth. I am lovingly honest with myself and others. So just in case we weren't clear so far, people, this is a time of healing and with loving honesty with myself and others. So yeah, and I mean, this is great because going forward, as you're honest with yourself about your non-negotiables and your deal breakers, you have honest, candid discussions with other people and really accept them as they are, and have them, you know, not so early on that it's weird, but like, I guess early enough to where it's like, well, let's not waste any more of our time kind of thing. And just like, be like, yeah, I mean, like, you speak what you want and what you're into, what you're looking for, and be yourself, and then believe them when they're their self to you. And I think you can cut through the bullshit a lot faster. I think the biggest mistake people make in their love lives and in relationships is that they, well, let's specify this to romantic love life relationships, is that they overstay something that's not going to work just because they are, I don't know, liking the high of being in a new thing, or they love the person and they ignored the red flags and the bad behavior early on, and they compromised their non-negotiable, or they fell in love fast and the non-negotiable was, you know, revealed later, whatever have you, sentimentalism, and wanting to hold on to the person. It just, like, it may inevitably not work out. And so if you know in the beginning that it's not going to work out, then be honest, you know, honest with yourself, honest with the other person, lovingly move on, and, you know, sample some other people, you know, get a speed date, you know, get the numbers in, get your stats up. You have plenty of options, you know, go out there and really try to sift through, like, all the options that you can. And I mean, you don't have to sift through the options, if you know what I mean, but you can, you know, like, get to know people and See what you like, what you don't like, and don't obsess over people before there's a reason to. Don't overly invest in people who aren't invested in you. Don't dream a fantasy into this house of cards it's not real because you've gotten excited about something and over the top that is not like really material like and actual yet. So like in the early phase, like if there's something's cute and exciting and it gets you all whatever, like be all cute and excited about it, but don't read into it. Don't start like writing your name out with their name attached to it. Don't read into things too much until they are like shaking you to get you to like read into it. Like err on the side of don't read too deeply into anything, especially if you're reading into a guy. They're pretty straightforward and uncomplicated. You aren't being lovingly truthful enough with yourself is usually the problem. We can't see that someone either doesn't want to commit, they're not interested in us, maybe they are interested but they're not going to commit. And that's another thing people waste their time on when they're like, well, I mean, there's this thing there and they really do like me. They just have this, you know, issue with commitment. It's like, well, that's your answer then. Like, move on. Like, there are other people who will also, you know, be just as awesome, who will love you even more, who are all about committing. So if it's not all there, don't force it to be. So this is from our career deck, and I knew it. I was like, it's gonna be more healing, isn't it? It's self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness. Forgive the self. And I think that the more that because love and money are connected, right? It's all under Venus. And so the more we forgive ourselves, the deeper our self-worth becomes, and we attract better experiences, and we will stand up and be devoted for ourselves and be committed to ourselves to say no if something is not, you know, going to be an ideal experience. So if it's not aligned with our values, we can walk away and say no, because we will have the self-worth to do that and feel the deservingness of having something real. So this is let go of old guilt and remember that you're God's perfect child. Forgive yourself for not knowing better, being more evolved in the past, or having relationships or jobs or dreams or whatever that didn't work out. It's just a journey. It's all a process. If we are obsessed with the result that we will get when we arrive, like I think that there's a syndrome attached to that, but you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because there's not any one thing that's going to be the big payoff, that's going to like be the lasting cure of anything. Everything is a process. Everything takes maintenance. And right now, what is the process and the maintenance is happening is the relationship with ourselves, because the more clear we get on that, the more deeply and intimately we get to know ourselves, and the more comfortable we are with that, the more comfortable we will be to show that to others so that they can really see us. And then we will have people who are authentically really into who you are, because they really see who you are, because you've shown them who you are, and you're going to want them to show you who they are. So you want an equal exchange. But in order to do that, I think that you need to be so comfortable by yourself that someone has to be all the things that you're looking for in order for you to get into a relationship, because you're not going to settle for something that's not right. All right. Happy Venus goes direct, guys. Love.